Hello guys, today we'll be covering a 1990 American action martial arts film called Lionheart. Léon Gauthier is a French soldier. He's a member of the Foreign Legion and is stationed in Djibouti, North Africa. There, he's seen training under the sun for weeks. Léon has a brother named Francois who lives in Los Angeles with his wife and daughter. He's involved in the drug trade and is once set on fire when a drug deal goes wrong. His entire body is severely burned, making him unrecognizable. The doctor in the hospital tells Francois's wife, Hélène, that he cannot predict whether he will live or die. Hélène's insurance has expired, and she has no money to pay for her husband's treatment. She's helpless because she has no one to help her and her husband. While she's leaving the hospital, she hears Francois calling his brother's name, so she decides to contact Léon in Africa. Léon, on the other hand, is completely unaware of his brother's condition. One day, he receives a letter from Hélène, in which she writes about Francois' condition and asks him to come to see the dying brother. Léon discovers that the Legion has been withholding Hélène's phone calls and letters. He demands why he hasn't been informed and insists on seeing his brother at any cost. But the Legion commander refuses to let him go and decides to put Léon in a sweatbox as a punishment for being disrespectful. As they prepare him for the punishment, Léon beats them up, steals a jeep, and escapes through the desert. 4 legionnaires chase after him in another jeep, but return empty-handed, unable to pursue him. The commander thinks Léon will never make it out of the desert alive. He expects Léon to try to escape through the sea and orders the legionnaires to check the docks first thing in the morning. Luckily, very tired and almost hopeless, Léon makes it to the dockyard and finds work on a tramp steamer that's bound for the United States. In the meantime, the commander travels to the French embassy in the United States in search of Léon. He's told that Léon's desertion is of low importance, so he assigns the job to 2 of his own legionnaires. Léon, on the other hand, is completely confined to stocking the boilers in the steamer and is not allowed to climb to the top deck. When the first mate discovers Léon breaking the order to stay down and work, he threatens him that if he doesn't obey, he'll have to return to the desert. Léon becomes angry at being used, jumps off the ship, and swims off to the deck, eventually arriving in New York City. Next, Léon tries to contact Hélène, his sister-in-law, but is unable to do so because he has no money on him. Meanwhile, he hears a noise and follows it to see what's going on, where he finds a crowd cheering for the men fighting. He meets Joshua Eldridge there, who organizes street fights for money. Léon volunteers for the next fight, in which no one but Joshua is betting on him. Contrary to the crowd's belief, he easily defeats his opponent and wins the money. He takes the money and leaves while Joshua goes after him. Léon calls Hélène again, only to find out that the number is no longer in service. After learning that Léon wishes to visit Los Angeles, Joshua offers to help him in getting there. He then takes Léon to see the lady, Cynthia Caldera, who organizes underground fights for the rich people. Russell, Cynthia's right-hand man, tries to send them off, but Joshua refuses to leave without seeing her. Next, Joshua introduces Léon as Lion to Cynthia, who agrees to sponsor him. She sets him in a no-holds-barred fight up against Sonny, giving him the name Lionheart. In order to finance the trip, Léon fights Sonny, who insults him by calling him pretty and wins with ease. Later in the car, Cynthia tries to convince Léon to stay in New York, where she can arrange another fight in less than a week for better pay. Léon, on the other hand, is adamant about going to LA, though he does not explain why. Cynthia keeps trying to persuade him to stay in the fighting business as it pays well, but Léon is firm in his decision. Joshua follows him out of the car. They come across a phone booth, but on their way to make a call, they're attacked by a local street gang. After the fight, the duo then heads towards Los Angeles. We see Léon's brother has died by the time he arrives at the hospital. He learns that his brother's murderers have been arrested by police. The doctor tells him that Hélène is left with a stack of unpaid medical bills and their daughter Nicole to look after. Léon, heartbroken over his brother's death, tells Joshua to leave him alone, but the latter follows him around. Léon eventually gives up and asks him to help find Helene's address, which they eventually do. Before meeting Hélène, he has a cute interaction with Nicole, Helene's 5-year-old daughter. Hélène is angry to see him there, and as he tries to explain, she refuses to listen to him. She blames Léon for her late husband's involvement in the drug business, which led to his death. He offers to help her, but she declines because he's too late and tells him to leave, threatening to call the cops. Later that night, as they drink in a bar, Léon tells Joshua that he served in the Foreign Legion and is on town to complete personal business. Joshua offers to help him and takes him to St. James Club, where they're staying for the night. The next morning, as he opens his eyes, Léon finds Cynthia in the room, who again tries to convince him to fight by seducing him. After deciding to help his brother's widow without her knowledge, Leon decides to join the fighting circuit. He continues to fight and has the profits delivered to Helene via Joshua, who lies to her that her late husband had purchased life insurance before his death. Leon defeats several high-profile fighters, including a Scotsman in the underground, a wrestler on a racquetball court, and a martial artist in a swimming pool. Soon enough, he becomes famous by the name of Lionheart. Meanwhile, the two Legionnaires are keeping an eye on Helene and Nicole. They expect Leon to visit her someday. They see him one day as he watches Nicole ride her new bike. The Legionnaires try to follow him but lose him. On the other hand, Cynthia learns about Helene, and despite Joshua telling her the truth, she orders Russell to spy on Leon out of jealousy. One day, while Leon and Nicole are talking, the Legionnaires approach him and ask him to come with them to court-martial without resisting. He informs them that he's helping out his family and requests a one-week stay, but they refuse and attempt to detain him. They engage in a fight in which Leon has a rib broken. Russell saves him and drives him to the hospital. Leon then asks the doctor to keep the broken rib a secret and hands him some money. Knowing his truth, Cynthia offers to help his family. Later that night, Joshua brings Leon to Helene's place. He reveals the truth about the fictitious insurance policy. Leon also tells the whole story about the attack that day, which Helene had witnessed. After learning the truth, she finally acknowledges Leon as Nicole's uncle when the little girl asks if he's a stranger. Next, Cynthia arranges a fight for Leon with Attila, who has remained unbeaten. His strategy is to toy with his opponent, giving them a false hope of victory until they exhaust themselves, at which point he viciously breaks them and, in some cases, kills them. Cynthia shows a tape of his fight to the Legionnaires and tells them she will hand Leon over to them after the fight. They agree with her as long as they can watch the fight. Meanwhile, Leon and Joshua move Helene and Nicole to a new place to keep them safe. Cynthia takes Leon to see potential bettors. She shows them a manipulated videotape of Attila in which he appears to be a poor fighter, persuading them to bet on Leon while she bets her entire fortune on Attila. Before the fight, Leon spends time playing with Nicole. He tells Helene that if he wins the fight, he'll take them away from the city. Joshua tries to talk Leon out of the fight as he realizes Leon is hurt. But Leon, on the other hand, is so determined to win the fight that he has withdrawn all of his money from the bank to bet on himself. After learning Cynthia has bet on Attila, Joshua gets confused about who to bet on. Meanwhile, Helene and Nicole prepare to leave by packing their belongings. As the fight proceeds, Attila finds out about Leon's rib wound and takes advantage of it. Leon keeps getting back up to fight, but Attila knocks him down. As it appears that Attila has won the fight, Joshua begs Leon to stop. At that moment, Leon realizes that Cynthia has bet against him and returns to the fight. Attila repeatedly hits him until he collapses on the floor. Joshua tries to persuade Leon to give up by revealing that he's placed the bet on Attila, which they'll split 50-50. This angers Leon and he gets back up again. Impressed by his never-giving-up attitude, the audience claps and cheers for him. He eventually defeats Attila by continuously throwing kicks and punches at him. He wins a huge sum, leaving Cynthia in big debt. The bettors who bet on Leon are happy, and they thank the bitter Cynthia. After the fight, Joshua is remorseful for not trusting Leon and tells him not to lose his heart ever. As he leaves, Leon stops him and hugs him. The Legionnaires then escort Leon back to the apartment. They give him some time to say goodbye before returning to Africa. He finds it difficult to say goodbye to Nicole, who begs him not to leave. Leon then asks Joshua to look after Helene and Nicole before leaving. Later, the Legionnaires decide to let him go a few blocks away, moved by the family's emotional goodbye. They then wish him good luck in his new life. Leon comes running to Nicole as she stands at the door looking ahead. Helene and Joshua rush out of the house when they hear her call his name. The film concludes with a touching reunion of Leon and his family, and Joshua, complete with happy laughter. The movie ends.